And welcome to the Howard Eskin Show as we're live on this Wednesday evening, but can be seen forever and ever and ever. And the show is presented, as it always is, by that great person, Jeff Stillwell of Stillwell Financial Advisors. You have any wealth that you want to invest, Jeff Stillwell is, in talking to him, I know that he knows everything that you need to know if you want to be a part of what Jeff Stillwell can do for you. Terrific guy. And here's his number, 732 343 0813, 732 343 0813, the presenter of the Howard Eskin Show. And we will have an all-time wide receiver on the show tonight. That'll be Mike Quick. Well, there's a lot of things to discuss with Mike, and there's some other things that I want to talk about going on in the NBA and with the Phillies, and we'll do that after Mike. And a comment that Irving Fryer made on the last show that I still find fascinating, and we'll get to that. But first, I want to tell you about our absolutely sensational partners and sponsors. Cut the cord with Jason, Piazza Property Pros, and Audi Westchester. Now, if you want a pool, or if you want to renovate your pool, or if you want landscaping, the experts are Piazza Property Pros. Whatever you're dreaming of, they did some really nice landscaping at my home, and it's sensational. And you know why? Because they know what they're doing in everything they do. 25 years of experience. They don't subcontract. It's their people. Great customer service, maintenance on your pool, landscaping, fencing, whatever it is. You can trust them. Piazza Property Pros, their number 610-566-2608, 610-566-2608. Check them out on the internet if you want to do so. PiazzaOutdoor.com. And they will help you do whatever you want to your property. Also, you want a new vehicle, and great people. And I've gotten a vehicle within the last few weeks there. I've gotten a couple of vehicles from Audi Westchester. Great new facility, state of the art, great buying experience, no pressure. It's fun. A cup of coffee, some snacks. People there are great. So it's all good. It's all good. And because they're part of the Mainline Automotive Group, you'll have access to the largest selection of new and pre-owned Audi vehicles in the tri-state area. Right now, $7,000 off any Q8s in stock, no tariffs. They can ship anywhere in the country. You want to check them out. Audi Westchester, located 1421 Wilmington Pike, or check them out at AudiWestchester.com. That's AudiWestchester.com. And if you want to save money on your cable, cut the cord with Jason. He will save you lots of money on your cable. Offers an incredible service. He'll save you money. Come out and cut the cord, cut the cable off, set you up with less expensive internet service, streaming services, which include local and national channels, all your local pro games. And if you have a second home, no extra charge. Jason can set that up too. One bill, both houses. For more information and to save lots of money, call Jason, 215-801-5858. That's 215-801-5858. And as I said, our guest, and by the way, I know everybody listens intently and listens closely. At the end of the conversation, I will have a question, which you can win a pair of Oakley sunglasses. And I'm going to do it a little different this week. The next two shows, tonight and Saturday, I'm going to have a question tonight and a question on Saturday. Hey, listen, sunglasses valued at $200, each. You got to work for it a little bit. And then I will have a question on Saturday, and you'll submit your responses to howardeskin.com by midnight, Monday, June 9th, and you can watch and see who wins on June 11th, and we'll announce the winner next Wednesday, June 11th. All right, now let me welcome. He was an All-Pro for 5 years. He was a great receiver for those 5 years, but also a great person and a great guy. and a terrific broadcaster, and that would be Mike Quick. Mike, welcome to the program. Um, when you kind of look at your career, you see that, for those years that you were really healthy, you were really good. You were really good.
Yeah.
I want to tell you,
King, I haven't seen you in a while. How are things?
What's that?
How are things?
You know what? Is he breaking up, or is it just me? Let me see. There you go. What's that?
I haven't seen you in a while.
There we go. All right. So here's when you cover a player, sometimes you don't realize how good that player is until after you separate yourself from that, because you're talking to the guys all the time. And I look at your numbers for those 5 years. You were phenomenal. You were really good. But that's no surprise. But so those are the compliments. Compliments as a broadcaster, which you are now with Merrill Reese on the Eagles broadcast, do an excellent job. But I want to go back, and we'll talk about your broadcast career, to draft day. And it's kind of interesting because we all remember what happened there. Dick Vermeil wanted Perry Tuttle out of Clemson, and he was drafted, I think, the pick before you. And then he ends up with you, and he was upset. Do you remember that day?
So I remember the day, but I probably remember I'm down in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was at NC State. I'm down in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just excited. I don't know about all of these things that are happening in the war room and deal with Perry Tuttle and Dick really wanting Perry Tuttle and not necessarily me. I was but there are a lot of good receivers that came out in that draft. Perry was faster, and in Clemson they threw the ball a lot more. So his numbers were great. My numbers were good, and he was consistently 4.4, low 4.4. I may have run 4.4 once when I was chased, but I could run once. I didn't just run like when you put a clock on someone and just time them. But when I was chased, I didn't get caught.
I remember that. Obviously, you weren't here, and there were 4 receivers drafted before you.
Yes,
in that first round when you were drafted at number 20. And when I look back, you're better than all those other 4 receivers that were drafted ahead of you. Obviously, you noticed that.
I noticed that, and I always kept that in mind. That Anthony Hancock, Lindsey Scott, Perry Tuttle out of me. And that was an issue for me. And when I came into the league, a point. And I went about my work in that way, that I wanted to prove a point. Yeah, these guys went ahead of me, and that never should have been the case. But, an exact science, and people always screw up the draft because what the big out is that you can't measure what you're going to get out of a man. You can't measure the desire that a guy has to play the game. Have a passion, a love for something, and a love for the game. Then you have a better idea of what you're getting. Some guys are really just good. Some guys are really good at basketball. They don't love it, but they have the right at it. Some guys are really fast and they can catch a football, but they may not love it. I had a little bit of all of that. I was fast enough, but I loved the game, and I had a desire to be great. That you don't, the stopwatches and the amount of times a guy can bench press weights. And
You know what? When you when you look at you drafted in 82, and 82, I think you
Yep.
played like 9 or 10 games. And then
It was a
83,
strike short. Yeah, it was a strike year, 82.
right. Okay. And then your second year, you had over 1,400 yards receiving. So you were really, you got, after your first year, and then you had 5 straight years where you led the league in receptions, uh,
Yep.
above all those other wide receivers that were drafted. Uh, and then it, you said you weren't as fast, but what was it that made you so good physically to be able to catch that many balls?
I had 4 older brothers, and they really, as a youngster. Um, so yeah, growing up, man, and I always had, and I think a lot of the toughness that allowed a lot of fear. And you could, like a guy like Perry Tuttle, you could see that there's some catch the ball because of the consequences. And I early in my childhood, basically having to play with older people. I think there are so many things that were poured into me at a young age that helped me to be and still in life. Yes.
Yeah, it was, and then you have, we're going to play it, the longest touchdown catch in NFL history because nobody can have more than 99 yards. So, and Jaworski, and I don't know if you're going to be there for his golf tournament. I'm going to see Jaws tomorrow and Friday.
Oh yeah.
But let's play. Let's play this highlight. Jaworski to quick
inside the 1-yard line. Jaworski retreats. He's looking. He fires the football. Complete to Quick. He's going to go. 25-40, 45-40, midfield, 45-40, 35-40. Mike Quick. Touchdown. The Eagles win. Jaworski to Quick. 99 yards. The longest pass play.
Okay, we'll have Mike right back. He's got to rehook up. But, he had his 5 straight years. When you look at his career, he's going to move inside. When you look at his career, it's fascinating. After his rookie year, which was 82, he had 5 straight years. Now, one of those years, and I'm not going to take that away from him, it was a strike year. It was the 87 season, so they only played 12 games. But when you look at his career, it is fascinating. It's a great feat that what he did is he led the league from 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 was a strike year, but he still led the league in receptions, made the Pro Bowl all those years. And his second year in the league, Mike's second year in the league, he had 1,409 yards, which is pretty damn good, obviously. And then he had for 3 straight years, he had over 1,000 yards receiving. When you look at the average yards per reception, he averaged for those 3 years, averaged over 17 yards, over 20 yards that second year, over 17 yards a catch. And then for the 5 years that he led the league, he averaged 20 yards, 17 and change, close to 16 and over 17 in that strike shortened season. And then, he had some trouble. I think it was his knee. But it is kind of an amazing, when you look at his career. And then Merrill Reese kind of tries to make a point that he should be in the Hall of Fame. For those 5 years, he had better than Hall of Fame numbers. But, there's some other things that are factors. Longevity is part of it. Total numbers. He played in only 101 games. Now, he had 363 catches, but he really did a great job in those 5 years of being a wide receiver for the Eagles. So let's talk about your broadcasting career, because nobody sees you in your broadcasting career. So we'll make believe that it's your broadcasting career.
Yeah, they can't see me now. Correct.
But what made you decide that you wanted to be part of the broadcast team?
So, interesting story. I just got a call kind of out of the blue one day, and I was not, I was friends with Stan Walters. We were teammates. And when Stan decided that he needed to leave and do something else, his wife got a job in England. And so they moved to England. I didn't know that this job was available and that people were, sending in their tapes and doing different things. Unbeknownst to me, all these things were going on. I was living my life doing other things. And I got a call somewhat out of the blue from Merrill.
Really?
And Merrill said that, hey, would you have interest in, because Stan's leaving and I think you could do the job. And I told him he was crazy. And I finally went and talked to the powers to be at the time at the radio station. And I finally said yes. And what's crazy is that they said, well, what would it take for you to consider taking the job? And I told them, and they said, oh, that's twice as much as the guy's making that was here before you. And I said, well, you asked me, what would it take for me? I don't know about what he's doing, but if I'm going to interrupt my life, if I'm going to do this, then this is what it would take for me. And so I told him what that number was, and they eventually came up with the number. So it took a while, though, because that was on like a Wednesday, and then I didn't hear from them Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend I thought, okay, maybe I blew it. And then they finally came back to me and said, okay, we can make this work.
Were you hesitant at all, Mike, to do something that you had never, as a football player, you're playing as a kid. So you grow up as a football player.
Yeah.
How hesitant, I guess, were you, if at all, to do something that you had never done before?
Yeah, I guess I was. And I like the idea of the new challenge. I knew that I didn't know anything about what the heck I was doing. And it showed, especially the first couple of years, that I had no idea what I was doing. But I was determined and stubborn-headed, and I said I was going to figure it out. So what I did was I went to NFL Films after that first year, and I started to listen to broadcasts from a lot of different people around the league. And Joe Theismann was one of them, because Joe Theismann was he talked so much, but I also thought Joe was pretty good. So I used to listen to him all the time. And eventually I felt like I had it. And I just started doing what I do. And
see, here's the difference. You mentioned Joe Theismann. Joe is just a talker, as we both know. I've had Joe on the podcast too. Joe's great. I forget when I guess through George Michael, because George down in Washington did so much stuff, and I got to know Joe, and after the Super Bowl was with him, and he's from Pennsylvania, so that's part. He loves crimpets. That's another thing. So, but whatever. Very conversational guy, and for him, he's probably just opening up and talking. That's the one thing. Did you have any trouble with that? Knowing what you know, watching it, seeing it, and then trying to explain it, and not just being yourself. Was it tough at first?
It was tough at first, and I'll tell you this: the toughest part was trying to really criticizing guys, because if somebody's screwing up, they're not doing what I know they should be doing, then I need to say that. And because I've been in that position, I always wanted to try and give them a benefit of the doubt, and I still do. I try to give guys the benefit of the doubt, and I don't want to crush guys.
Right.
Like, you'll say things like, oh, he's a stiff, he can't play. I never see guys that way, because I
knew those guys wouldn't be around very long anyway.
There are only 32 teams, And if you're able to make one of those teams, you're not a stiff, or you're not, or some of these derogatory things that many people say. So for me, I wanted to always make it clear if a guy is screwed up. I wanted to make it clear that, that should not have been done that way, should have been done this way, or whatever I need to say to point out the fact that it was done wrong, or you should have caught that ball, or you should not have missed
Right.
you shouldn't have missed that open target. So things like that I want to say, but I don't want to do it in a way where I'm bashing the guy. I just want to analyze and explain what I'm watching, what's good, what's bad. When it works out, I want to be able to explain the way it works out. When it doesn't work, I want to be able to explain the why it doesn't work out.
You know what? When you think about it, the thing when I've talked to athletes when they were players and they would come up to me, because I like to talk to guys rather than what happened in the game and what are you going to do here. They talk about that stuff all the time. You
Right.
talk as people. I try to talk to players as people. It's like when I see Mike Trout at the games, I never talk baseball with him. He talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
But so I try to talk, and they would ask me about Bro. Hugh Douglas did that when he was a player. Jason Kelsey, I talked to briefly while he was a player. And the one thing that I learned when I went into television, when I never worked TV, so they sent me to a coach in New York, Channel 3 did, that was the first station. And she scared the living daylights out of you, but she worked with network people, she worked with sports people, real and natural. Just be yourself. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
That's
and
right.
if you're telling the truth,
That's right.
and that probably wasn't easy for you at first, though, was it?
It wasn't, because, early in my career, here's the hard part. When you're new, when you're new to it, just walking into it, and the team that you're working for, that you're analyzing, they win 3 games.
Oh, wow. It's not easy, man.
So Ray's I had nothing good to talk about.
Yeah.
So it was Ray Rhodes last year as a head coach of the Eagles is when I got my first opportunity. And to have a terrible team that you have to every week try and analyze and figure out the wins and the whys and the why nots, it was just difficult to do, especially for someone with no training, no experience at it. I mean, I studied communication, but I did not train to sit in a booth with a live microphone and try and spit out what I'm watching on the field as it's happening. So that was difficult.
I will say this, and obviously I've listened to you guys for years before I was on the sidelines.
Yep.
And I had to listen to everything just in case you guys said something, and I'd say, and I knew what was going down because I saw something.
Right.
But I will say this, and don't take this as a criticism of the other team's broadcasters, because I think the radio broadcast for the Phillies is excellent, because they'll tell you what they really say. Yeah. And Larry Anderson is terrific, and Scott
LA is
Kransky,
great.
Yeah, with both of them. But the Eagles broadcasts are like that. And, Merrill gets pissed a lot of times, but he doesn't show that because we know Merrill. So he just tells you what he thinks and what he sees. And you guys are honest. The one thing I've noticed about the Eagles broadcast, you're honest. And that's all people should get. That's what you're there for, especially on radio. You've got to describe what they may not be able to see because they're not watching it on TV while they're listening to the broadcast. The fact that, and it's a compliment, that you guys do it well like that, I guess you got to feel comfortable knowing. And you can always talk to the player. If the player wants to talk to you, say, hey, this is why I said what I said, and this is what should have happened. And this is, I'm sure you've had to do that too, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes it's not pleasant. But here's my thing. I've been in the position. I don't want to bash anybody.
Right.
And I'm always happy if someone has a different opinion than mine. I'm happy to sit down with them and hash it out. Like if I'm wrong, I'm man enough to admit, okay, I apologize. I messed that up. Yeah. But I've so I remember the one time that Terrell Owens got so upset with me. He just stopped talking to me. And we haven't, you know,
That's not uncommon.
and, so, and it was because Comcast, they made it worse because it was the one game where he was on the sideline. He was in Donovan's ear. He was right in behind him. Everywhere he turned, he was following him and in his ear when they got to the sideline. And on the air, I'm banging him because you shouldn't do that. When the quarterback quarterback comes to the sideline, he should be able to sit down with the position coach, go over the Polaroids, figure out what's going on, and so that he's better equipped when he goes back on the field.
Uh-huh.
But T.O. wouldn't even allow him to sit down. He's banging it. He's in his ear, going back and forth. And so I'm talking about it on the air. And for the next couple of days, Comcast kept running it, and they're running the sound bite as he's going back and forth. And and of course, T.O. took exception to that. So then we just stopped talking after that.
Yeah, but
it happens.
Yeah, it happens. It's just players got to understand, especially if somebody's willing to talk to them about it. I mean, I've had instances with players. Jason Worth really went after me one night after what I said on ESPN because he was jumping all over me because when I had an argument with Charlie Manuel. And then after the season, we sat down for like 40 minutes, and now we're actually good friends because, and I he didn't say anything to me the whole season until the end, until they won the division. And he started pouring champagne on me, and not out of happiness, out of anger, just to, I was wearing a suit.
Good for you.
He says marginal Major League Baseball player. That's what I call him. I said, we got to talk. So we did after the playoffs. But I'm willing to talk to people. If you're willing to talk to people, it's all good.
See, you're different. You like to antagonize. You like
I don't.
You like to stoke the fire and get guys all pissed off. Listen, everybody wanted to fight you. Buddy Ryan wanted to punch you. The center that we had back in the 80s, God, a big old dude. The one that went after you at that ribbon in Cherry Hill that one night.
No, Remington. No, it was.
Yeah,
no, Remington. He was with me. He was with me, and the guy who had just had a fight with his wife, I later found out, jumped me at the ribbon, and Remington saved my life.
Yeah, you have a whole string of people who wanted to go after you.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't do it out of that. I do it because I have an opinion. But I'm always willing to talk to somebody if I have an opinion, and that's what you got to do. And if I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong and talk it out. Tug McGraw and I had an issue at one time because I criticized him the year after they won the World Series. So we argued, and then he had some whatever. We argued, and we finally got over it. And you know what? Tim McGraw came up to me at a Super Bowl one time. He says, Howard Eskin. I says, yeah, how do you know who I am? He says, my dad always said some great things about you. So in the end, because you would talk to him, you'd understand. I'm not a hit and I call a lot of the guys on the air now, whether it's radio or TV, hit and run drivers. They hit you and you never see them. They run. They're never there to face the music. But you understand it because as a broadcaster, you're going to be with the players. You're going to be with them, and you're going to have to talk to them. And there's nothing. And once they understand that, they accept it. They're not perfect. None of us are perfect. Right. So. Right. So obviously you've had some memorable moments in the booth. So just to give Merrill a nice shout out, your partner for 22 years now in the booth? Is it 22?
Keep going. I think it's 20. It's 27 or 28.
Okay. Whatever the case.
So we're going in. I think we're going into the 28th season. I don't know. Time goes too fast for me now.
Okay. So Merrill is obviously a great Eagles broadcaster. different. You got to fit in with him. And I knew that on the sidelines. You got to get out of the report to let him set up the play. You know, it's radio, and I understand that. And that had to be at first difficult to fit in what you had to say, knowing Merle had to set up the play. So, but working with Merle was obviously, once you guys got that all figured out, had to be great.
Yeah. So once I got the cadence. I started to understand, when he was done, and when I could like drop a couple of nuggets here and there. But you have to know when to jump in, because the worst thing in radio, I think, is when guys are stepping on each other.
Yep.
When a guy's talking and then the other guy's coming in and trying to talk over him, and it's just bad. It's just bad business. It's not something that you want to do. But when I started to understand, so when we first started, he would just kind of like make a motion or tap me that he was done, and it's okay. He's Batman and I'm Robin, and Batman has to, and so when Batman has done his job, then he taps, and Robin, it's time for you to like come in and add a little something. But once we got to the point where I could understand basically when he's done and I can jump in, or now it's to the point where sometimes I know that I can jump in certain instances and just start, with my analysis. We just, we yin and yang pretty well now. We know each other so well because we've been together for so long.
I knew Merle before. I did spots and statting for him when he did the Penn football games. So I and I've known him for years and know, because then I'm there right next to him. So I know all those things that go on. But, it's like any partner you have, you're going to have to get used to. But you brought up Buddy Ryan, and there was a moment. You've had great moments on the field. Let's play a great moment off the field. Everybody's watching Buddy.
Oh God, you didn't do that, did you?
I back it up by the way I play. Guys, look at me and know what to do. I say, look out! I'm coming on too. Randall Cunningham, quarterback. The guy everybody wants to sell.
No, keep it going. Keep it going. Yeah, keep it going. I want to see Mike. That's Wes Hopkins.
Jerome Brown with a lot to say.
Yeah.
Back it up by the way I play. Guys, look at me and know
Back
what
it up
to do.
by the way I play.
I'm coming on too. Randall Cunningham, quarterback. The guy everybody wants to sell. Now you see me, now you don't. You think you will? No, you won't. 6 wide receivers. They got the names of joke, but I made them all believers. Go on, guys, all around. Who's got the ball when we hit the ground? Buddy's watching you.
He's watching, yes, he's watching.
Man, we got to get Reggie White. We haven't had Reggie White yet.
Come on, man. You went digging deep, huh?
Where's Reggie? Let's get a little Reggie in here. Louis and J.S. I could care less about, but that's the kicker that. Wait a minute, is that the kicker that Jimmy Johnson went after? I think.
No, it's the kicker that we went after once he left here and went to Dallas.
Oh,
There
you go.
There's Reggie.
When I think I helped him up and say, God bless you.
Okay. It's just, what? How did they get you to do that?
Oh, that was a young kid. Yeah, one of the guys from Philadelphia International came to the locker room, and the '85 Bears, they had, they won the Super Bowl and they did their Super Bowl shuffle, and Buddy comes to Philadelphia, and we figure, hey, we need to make us a rap video too. So we went down to Philly International Records, and one day after practice. No. It was the day off. It was a Monday. No, it was Monday that we all got together
Uh-huh.
and talked about it, and we decided to do it. That Tuesday, we went down and actually went in studio and filmed that stuff. Didn't take very long, obviously.
But it was great. When I can't get enough of that. I can't get enough of it.
You know
But
what's crazy? That thing has lived for a long, long time. When my son was in high school, somehow kids got a hold of it. I went to pick him up from practice one day, and when I walked in the gym, soon as I got close to the kids, they all started singing my part.
it's great. It's great. And Buddy Ryan, you mentioned earlier that he was not a fan of me because I thought I won't say who the coach was, told me it was like a Chinese fire drill on the sideline. One of his assistant coaches who I became friendly with, who later became a head coach. It was like a Chinese fire drill on the sideline with Buddy. But he loved his defensive players, and you were part of the other side. Was there resentment by the offensive players because the defensive players could do whatever they wanted, but the offensive players, maybe other than Randall, was there resentment on the offensive player side?
So I think there may have been one or two guys, but for the most part, that wasn't the case. Um, we were just trying to work together. We were just trying to win ball games, and I don't think there were some guys that resented Buddy on the offensive side. I will say that there are. I can think of two or three guys right offhand that really didn't care for Buddy and the way he handled things, but that wasn't by and large the way things were handled. But yeah, he was spent more time with the defense. He was a defensive guy. We all knew that. But he just figured Randall could make a few plays and the offense would, make 4 or 5 plays and the defense would carry the rest of the team. That was just the way he saw the game. It's not that way. It wasn't that way. Um, but he had success with that in Chicago because they had a really good running game. Jim McMahon wasn't much of a quarterback.
I know.
But they won a Super Bowl with Jim McMahon because they had a tenacious defense, one of the best defenses we've ever seen in '85.
Yeah, no question.
And Buddy just thought that he could duplicate that in Philadelphia with, you make 4 or 5 good plays on the offensive side, and my defense would take care of the rest. And that was kind of his philosophy. Just didn't work out.
You know what? I don't think he ever won a playoff game here. It just,
No. I think we only played in one. We played the Rams in a playoff game, but I think that was the only one.
Yeah, it's just, and wait a minute, did he replace the quarterback? Didn't he replace the quarterback in one of those games? Well, I forget who the quarterback was. Was it Jim McMahon and he pulled him for somebody else? I barely remember that, but Buddy, Buddy was Buddy. Buddy just tried to be a showman, and I don't know. He was a terrific assistant coach as a.
No, Buddy pulled Jaws.
Oh, is that who it was?
Buddy pulled Jaws for Randall, and he started Randall coming in on third downs. Ron would run.
Right.
Ron would run first, second down, and if we didn't have a 3rd and 2 or third and easy third down situation, if it's third and you need to pass, then Randall jogged onto the field, and Randall was running the third down, which was kind of a scatter drill, run around, try to make a play.
All right. So, Mike, I do want to touch before you go on your playing part of your career. When you played, the defensive rules were different.
Yeah.
Okay. So it kind of opened it up a little bit. Well, now you can't touch a guy. They were tougher then, right? They were tougher then. So how did you have so much success when the defensive backs could basically maul a wide receiver? How did you have so much success?
So you got to realize I was actually bigger than most defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a problem with the physicality. So if you want to come up and try and press cover me or get your hands on me, that's fine. That was fine by me because I knew how to combat that. I knew how to get away from defensive backs that tried to play like that. It was a different game. you were allowed to really hit guys and take guys out and intimidate guys.
Yep.
And we had some of the best intimidators. We had Wes Hopkins and we had Andre Waters and guys like that who didn't mind just running through you. So that was a part of the game during that time. And if you allowed guys to take your heart because they're going to give you a hard hit or they're going to, then that was kind of what happened. You mentioned Perry Tuttle earlier. That's why he was not an effective wide receiver in this league, because of the collisions that guys were legally
Yeah.
putting on wide receivers and on anybody that had a ball in their hand.
All right. So now you play only 9 years, which
Yeah.
when you Irving Fryer played almost twice that, which is I didn't realize Irving Fryer was the first pick in the draft until I realized he was the
He
first
was
pick.
the first pick, not the first receiver. He was the first overall pick out of Nebraska when he came out of college.
I know, it was amazing. So, but you only played 9 years,
Yep.
and I know you could have played more. But at the end of the career, was it your knee that was giving you problems?
Yeah, I had some real issues with my knees. Yeah, and so I went out to South Lake Tahoe and had knee surgery done twice. When I came back during the rehab process before the '91 season, I ruptured my quadricep muscle, and then I was basically done. I could run, but I could not hit fourth gear. I could jog. I could get up to like 70%, but that was all I had. And so I realized that, all right, it's time to move, time to do something else.
And it's just too bad, because obviously if physically you were okay, you could have played a lot more years. How difficult was it when you finally had to say, I can't do it anymore?
So the year even before that, it was starting to take a toll on me, that my knees were getting bad. I had to take medication too many days just to make it through practice.
Mhm.
That never set well with me. The fact that I had to take painkillers or something just to go out and practice, not like not a game, not a game, just to make it through full practice because of the condition of my knees. I had to take stuff, and that was the year before I retired. So once I got to where I had to go out and get those surgeries done, it was those last 2 years, they just got to be too much. And I realized that it was time for me to turn the page. It was difficult, but at the same time, I knew it was time.
You know what? You weren't big on practice. You never liked training camp. All these training camps they have now. Boy, you wouldn't be fond of this stuff right now. You weren't big on training camp, right?
No, today's training camp would be perfect for me.
Oh, because you don't have to do that much?
They don't do anything.
Well, they have a lot of them, but they don't.
They have a lot of meetings.
Oh,
They have a
okay.
lot of walkthroughs. They have a lot of what do you call it? What they get their reps through osmosis.
Osmosis.
No, they listen. What happened with the NFL in many ways is they've gotten a lot smarter with the way they handle these athletes. You don't need to practice and kill one another the way we did with 3-hour practices in the morning where you're hitting full pads and hitting. Then you come back in the afternoon for 3-hour practice and you're hitting, banging each other. And I just think the governing bodies, they've gotten smarter with the way they handle training camp, with the way they handle these players. And in the long run, in the long term for these players, they're going to be so much better off than the guys from my era who are all dealing with a whole lot of issues.
Well, it certainly is different, Mike. I actually had fun. I usually have fun when I talk to you, but we bust each other's balls all the time. So
Why not? Hey, Howard, listen, if you can't have fun, I don't want to be around you. So,
I know.
so listen, like people, if I can't like have fun with you and bust on you, and you bust on me, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's all good.
it really is all good. By the way, belated happy birthday. What was it? May
Thank you.
14th was your
Yeah,
birthday?
May 14th. I turned
Okay.
66. I'm an old dude now.
No,
And
no, no. You're not old. You're just older.
I'm
Just
an
remember
older
that.
dude now, and it's, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
And you know what? You enjoy the broadcast. Someday you won't be doing it anymore, but for the
Correct.
time being, you're as long as you're having fun, that's what it's all that counts. I mean, the schedule and the travel sometimes is a pain, especially when you have to travel long distances.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But as long as you have fun, and I know you enjoy working with Merrill Reese, so
I do. Yeah.
keep it up. And I had fun. I had fun. Like, you know what? Is there anything else you want to bust my chops about? You just
No,
you know,
I don't, man.
okay.
Listen, good. Hey, good to talk to you. Good to see you. Leave it at that.
Okay, and I'll see you. You know what? We'll see each other probably for the next couple of days. I know there's a reception for Jaworski's thing Thursday, and then the
Yep.
golf tournament on Friday. So I'll see you. I'll see you then, and we'll bust each other, bust on each other. Then it'll be
I'll
fine.
see
But
you live, and I'll see you at the golf tournament on Friday.
all right. Hey, Mike, I really do appreciate it. I do thank you, and thanks very much. I like to have fun on these things, and I really did have fun with you. I really did.
Hey, man,
Thanks.
anytime. You got it. Anytime.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
brother.
Take
All
care.
right. Mike Quick, who was, I didn't try to push him for the Hall of Fame. You got to have more years than 9 years, but he had 5 Hall of Fame years for sure. Those 5 years that he led the league in wide receiving. So there's going to be some other things. Sorry for the technical issues at the beginning of it. Hey, listen, but things happen and you get through it. And in the end, we had fun. I mean, that's what it's all about. Again, I want to thank our presenting sponsor for this fine show, the Howard Eskin Show. Stillwell Financial Advisors. Jeff Stillwell is the man. He's the man. The thing is, when you get to know people and talk to people and understand what they do, rather than just go and you're running an advertisement, you're working for a radio or TV station, you don't even know anything about the people. I know this guy's good. Jeff Stillwell is really good. If you have any questions or you want to just talk to him about investing, any kind of wealth, 732-343-0813, 732-343-0813. All right. And here's another thing I want to tell you. When I talk about my sponsors, and I call them my partners, I get to know the people. It's truth in advertising, which I don't know how much that exists in the radio business anymore, because when people do commercials, most of the time they don't even know about the company. They haven't had much experience, if any, with the company. You get to know people. It's fun to get to know people, and it's fun to get to know the companies. And that's what I do. And I wouldn't talk about these people the way I talk about them if I didn't know them. And that's important. It's like Piazza Property Pros. I listen. I started talking to them. I started to try to understand them, and I had them do my landscaping. And Piazza Property Pros really are the people. If you want to do a pool, the pools are nice. They're doing so many things right now, so many people's pools, and they're doing it because people understand they are really, really good. Whether it's a new pool, whether it's a renovation of a pool, whether it's pool maintenance, whatever it is, 25 years of experience says something about Piazza Property Pros. They don't subcontract. It's their people, skilled team. Whether it's landscaping, fencing, whatever it is, pool maintenance, Piazza Property Pros, your people, just give them a call for a free consultation. 610-566-2608, 610-566-2608, piazzaoutdoor.com is where you can check them out. And I get to know about the vehicle, the people that I get my vehicles from. I know them, and fun people. And I got to know them better and better and better. And it's an experience that I had that you can have at Audi Westchester. Right now, $7,000 off of the Q8s in stock. They will ship a car anywhere. If you let's say you have a home in Florida, you have a home somewhere else, they can ship the car there. You purchase a car there, pressure-free environment, fun people. You'll get to see a large selection because as part of the Mainline Automotive Group, they have access to the largest selection of new and pre-owned Audis in the tri-state area. Check them out. Audi Westchester, 1421 Westchester Pike, or AudiWestchester.com. That's AudiWestchester.com. You want to cut the cable? You want to cut the cable because it's too expensive. That's what you want to do. You want to cut the cable because it's too expensive. Cut the cord with Jason. He offers an incredible service that will save you money. And, who knew about cut the cord before we started talking about it? But because I met with Jason, I understood what he does and understood that his services are really good. The streaming services will be less expensive. The cable will be less expensive. You'll see all the channels that you saw before. And if you have a second home, they can hook up that. It's part of the same bill. No difference. 2 homes on the price of 1 bill. And you'll save money. Cut the cord with Jason. Do it today, 215-801-5858. That's 215-801-5858. All right. I want to talk about the Phillies, and I want to talk about the Sixers, and I want to talk about the NBA. I really do. I really do want to talk about that. All right. Before I do that, I want to try to explain to people. And then I just told you that I know my people, and I'll call them my people. They become my friends, and that's happened a lot with a lot of the people that I did endorsements for, and I talked about their companies when I was on the radio, and now it's because I get to know them. And here, radio's trying to save themselves right now, and they're putting out different things that try to tell you how many people listen to radio. Let me tell you something. When you turn on the car, you listen to the radio, and then you hook up a podcast. And, tell me how many people out there right now really listen to the radio that much anymore. You really don't. And all these numbers and all these people that, most of the people still listen to radio in the Philadelphia area. No, they don't. They don't. And they don't. And here is the numbers are always inflated. The cost of advertising for radio is inflated. Here it's advantageous to advertise. And I'm trying to tell you, if you want to advertise on the podcast, you will get results. I will get to know you before you're an advertiser. I want to be sure about your company. I want to be sure your company is right. And you're not going to overpay. You overpay with radio. You overpay and you don't get the results. And when they podcast shows, they take your commercials out. These are in there forever. Like if somebody wanted to listen to Mike Quick a month from now, the commercials are still there. Somebody wanted to listen to, whether it's Charles Barkley, who was my first podcast, still there. Anybody that wants to listen, your commercials live forever. That's not the case in radio. Radio is overpriced, and it's not as efficient as podcasts. And that's what people listen to now is podcasts. Hey, if anybody has any interest, I don't need to sell you advertising. You'll advertise because you want to and because you'll get results, and it's more cost effective. You can go to my website, howardeskin.com, if you have any thoughts about advertising on the podcast. But remember, I'll get to know your company, and your commercial, I don't even call it commercial, your endorsement will live forever. I don't have to resell my ad space like radio stations do. I don't have to tell you that 70 to 80% of the people in the Philadelphia area listen to radio. Yeah, for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then they plug in their podcast. And that's what they listen. How many people listen? How many of you listen to your radio in your home? Anybody? Does anybody listen to the radio at home? I don't even use a clock radio anymore. You set your alarm on your phone. You don't listen to your clock radio. You don't listen to your radio at home. You use a podcast if you want to listen to music, and you have all these different technical things where you can listen to it. That's if you want results, and you want more efficiency and you want better efficiency with the cost of what you pay, podcasts are the way. And it's not just my podcast. There's others as well. There's others as well. And we will over time brand your company much, much, much better than radio. All right, let me talk about the Phillies. And the reason I want to talk about the Phillies, because they beat Toronto in the first game of the series, they still have a losing record against Toronto. Is technically a winning team by 2 games over 500, but they're 12-15 against winning teams, counting the opening win against Toronto. 12-15. So they have a losing record against winning teams. Here's an interesting statistic, if you like stats. They're second in the league, the Phillies are, in fewest errors. However, this is the key to that whole thing. They're second from the bottom in defensive runs allowed. Second from the bottom. And what does that mean? That means that their players don't have any range. They don't save runs. You know, the 80 Phillies are a long time ago, but there's no comparison. And there's a lot of teams where there's no comparison. They save probably a run a game. The Phillies give up with defensive deficiencies an extra run a game. That's not, you can have pitching, but you got to have defense too. And I just don't think the Phillies, I think their Phillies are a good team. I just don't think they're a World Series team. Sorry to say for John Middleton, the owner's legacy. He's worried about his legacy. The hell with his legacy. Who cares about his legacy? People, the fans, care about teams that win. That's what they want to do. And I want to deal with the NBA. The 2 teams, and I think I mentioned this the last time that I had a show. Paul George has been traded from both teams that are now in the NBA Finals. Traded from both teams. So what does that tell you about Paul George? Whatever the Sixers do in the draft, it doesn't make any difference. But here is the telltale sign. The Knicks fire their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, who I think is a good coach. Sometimes, I mean, coaches do have an expiration date, and sometimes, you know, they got to go. It comes down to the players. It doesn't always come down to the coach. Coaches make mistakes, and Tom Thibodeau has probably made some mistakes, but he's a good coach. And I don't know that they're going to find a coach that's going to get them, the Knicks, to win a championship unless they do something with the players. I know that the people that run the Knicks organization, and I think they're good people, but, you know, it's a fact of life that, hey, if Tom Thibodeau gets fired, are you going to tell me that Nick Nurse is better than Tom Thibodeau? No. I mean, Nick Nurse is a nice guy, different kind of guy, but a nice guy. But I don't know that he gets the most out of his players either. And the players, they're always going to be hurt. You're not going to find, who knows whether Paul George will play 50 games this year. Who knows whether Joel Embiid will play 40 games this year. It's really kind of sad, but the coach is the one that they always blame. It's really kind of sad, but it's amazing. I want to play something from Irving Fryer in our last podcast. And I don't know if I'll play the whole thing, but it's interesting. And Mike knew this too. A wide receiver drafted number 1 in the NFL, but he was drafted number 1 in the NFL, but he didn't even play wide receiver his last year in college. Listen to this.
In the 80s, we didn't pass the ball at all. Mike Rozier was a Heisman Trophy winner my senior year. I did a lot of blocking. And the amazing part about it, when I think about it, when you think about it, is that when I was drafted as a wide receiver. I was the first wide receiver ever taken first in the history of the NFL in terms of the draft. But I wasn't a wide receiver. I was a wingback. I was a wingback. You watch my films, I didn't run patterns and things like that. I wasn't savvy at that kind of stuff. Not like those kids are now coming out of college, coming into the pros, man. They're already running routes like Fred Biletnikoff. But I couldn't run routes like that. My one-on-ones every day in practice was me in a 3-point stance blocking a defensive end standing over me or cracking down on linebacker. I didn't run. I had never.
You know what? That's interesting. All right. We've heard enough because he touched the ball like 4 times a season. That is fascinating. Drafted number 1, wasn't even a wide receiver his final year. All right, let's take care of some business here. Our winner from the last show of the Chickies and Pete's gift certificate, Pat O'Connor, congratulations. I know you'll love Chickies and Pete's. You'll get the crab fries. You'll get everything else. There's so many locations. Wherever you are in different parts of the country, there's Chickies and Pete's locations. But in our area, I think the number's like 70. I don't even know how many it is, but there's a lot. So you'll have no problem using that gift certificate. Now, the question from this show from Mike Quick, and to win the Oakley sunglasses, you're going to have to work a little harder. They're valued at about $200 a piece. The question is, what player stopped talking to Mike Quick while he was a broadcaster because of what he said in the booth? What player stopped talking to Mike Quick? Now, Saturday's show, I'm going to have another question. You've got to answer both and submit your entry on Monday. So the first part of this 2-question deal to win the Oakley sunglasses, what player stopped talking to Mike Quick while he was a broadcaster? And you will have another question on Saturday, and you can win a pair of Oakley sunglasses. So you got to answer both correctly. And if 2 people get it correct, which normally they do, submit it to howardeskin.com to the contact page, and we'll announce a winner next Wednesday. But Saturday, listen, because there'll be another question on Saturday. Okay, thanks to everybody. Again, sorry for the issues at the beginning of the show, but things happen. Hey, bleep happens. So you deal with it, try to make the best of it. And Mike was great. And I really appreciate Mike Quick coming on. He was terrific. And thank you for joining me tonight on the Howard Eskin Show.